the mosque unless we get approval from those people who live in the area. At least we have to follow the rule and regulation.
Most Muslims in Indonesia live on the island of Java. 62% live on the island of Java. But other islands like Borneo, like Sulawesi, like Papua, they are much bigger islands. The natives are predominantly Christians. And we rarely heard about mosques being burned, being attacked in those predominantly Christian areas.
So you're saying that many of the attacks mainly happen in majority Muslim areas?
If we take a look at the pattern, the most violence usually taking place in Western Java. There is historical reason for that because this area used to be the enclave of the Darul Islam movement, which was trying to establish Indonesia as a Sharia-based country.
I want to talk about something that you raised a little earlier on. You talked about the Ahmadiyya perhaps being moved to a certain island apparently for their own protection. Do you think this is a good move for them?
Of course not. You cannot move people by force. You cannot move people out of their family members, friends, job, market, school for the children, etc., etc. So it is inhuman.
Muhyiddin, what do you think?
I don't agree at all because as far as Islamic teaching is concerned, we are not allowed to force somebody to follow our faith. What we are objecting right from the beginning is the practice of our brothers from Ahmadiyya who still claim themselves as Muslims. See, for example, if you are Hindu or if you are Christian and somebody else claims themselves Christian, but they violated the teaching of Christianity and Hinduism. Do you want to keep quiet? Do you agree or not? That's the reason. Therefore, the best solution.
Are you saying then that if the Ahmadiyya sect came out and said, all right, we will now admit that we are not part of the Islamic religion, we are in fact a whole different religion, that these attacks against them will stop?
Definitely. We have given two options. One is Ahmadiyya, they form their own religion, the name Ahmadiyya religion. Or they return to the teaching of Islam, the genuine teaching of Islam. If they accept this, we can guarantee there no more attack, no more against
Who
Ahmadiyya.
is to say, who then dictates what is the genuine teaching
Of course,
Islam? How can the state dictate that this is the branch of Islam that
the government
the country
of
has to
Indonesia
follow?
does not have any right to force. But
No, but the
every
Council
religion,
of Ulama do, don't they?
It's not the Council of Ulama. Every religion has their own reference. So Islam, of course, based on Al-Quran and the tradition of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. As long as those people do not follow these reference, of course, we consider that they are not part of Muslim.
Just finally, gentlemen, do you think it is actually possible to maintain religious harmony here in multicultural Indonesia? Muhyiddin.
Yeah, definitely. It is no doubt that we Indonesian people enjoy religious freedom right from the time of our independent days. Only recently there are minor cases, I could say.
Andres, how do you think religious harmony can be maintained here in multicultural Indonesia?
There should be a radical change of the mindset of many religious leaders in Indonesia. If not, violence after violence will keep on continuing breaking out in Indonesia. I'm not only talking about burning churches, I'm talking about killing people, killing hundreds, thousands of people in the name of their respective religion.
I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time.
Come.
That's all the time we have for this edition of 101 East. You can always follow the program through our website, podcast and Facebook. From all the team here in Jakarta, Indonesia, thanks for watching.
Business Latest is brought to you by Catalum, the most efficient and environmentally friendly aluminium smelter. Business Latest is brought to you by Catalum, the most efficient and environmentally friendly aluminium smelter.
He's taken stolen goods and he's now dumping them onto the world without any sort of consideration for consequences.
From people making the news,
if the North will be saved a lot of trouble, I think it is important that they should come together.
to those it affects.
We do accept that there was very bad mistakes made in our banking area.
Behind the headlines
Most South Koreans are not interested in reunification.
is the inside story. At this time on Al Jazeera. This is Al Jazeera.
Welcome to the News Hour, live from Doha. I'm Imran Garda from Al Jazeera news centers in Doha and Washington, D.C. These are the main stories. Opposition supporters in Libya pay their respects to the anti-Gaddafi fighters killed in the battle for Breka.
Hello, I'm Daljit Dhaliwal in Washington, where Barack Obama says that the Libyan leader has lost legitimacy.
It's time for Gaddafi to go.
But the president also says that the United States is still considering what to do next.
6 women are shot dead in Côte d'Ivoire as they march in support of presidential claimant Alassane Ouattara. Egypt gets another new prime minister as Mubarak's man quits. After weeks of condemnation, Muammar Gaddafi will now be investigated for crimes against humanity by the International Criminal Court. The eastern part of Libya seems to be out of the embattled leader's reach, despite his attempts to regain control. His forces launched fresh airstrikes on the strategic oil town of Breka, which is held by Gaddafi's opponents. Some reports say they may have been targeting the airport where anti-government protesters and pro-Gaddafi forces had been fighting for control. It follows similar strikes on Wednesday when 2 warplanes dropped bombs on Breka's oil terminal. Anti-government rebels now say they've cleared Breka of government forces. Well, with tens of thousands fleeing the country, concerns have been raised over the worsening humanitarian crisis at Libya's borders. The UN says the makeshift camps have reached crisis point. More than 50,000 Bangladeshis are still trapped, and their government says it has no plans to evacuate them. The chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court says he'll investigate Gaddafi, his